Alright, so we're back in the world of Avowed, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my Shadow Stalker early game build. This build is centered around using a elemental dagger and pistol to give you a good amount of versatility in dealing with a multitude of enemies, as well as the ability to navigate the world since you have two of pretty much the three elemental elements required to open most things. This is also going to give you the ability to stay stealth, and in certain situations you can almost stay permanently stealth early game. And keep in mind, early game it's actually pretty tough to stay stealth, and with this build you're actually able to do it, so it's really nice. And even when you deal with stronger enemies, it's pretty easy to dispatch them because you deal a ton of burst damage. Let me show you how to make my Shadow Stalker build. Alright, so now we are on the build section, and quickly guys, I want to say this build is a very good build. I want to point out that I have only upgraded my weapons to fine, and we're capable of dealing pretty sizable damage to a lot of enemies. This is just base +1 fine. This isn't like super upgraded like most probably builds should be at the point I am in the game, and we're capable of dealing with some of the stronger enemies in the next zone already, and we barely even put any effort into upgrading of any of these weapons. So I just wanted to point out that the build is pretty strong already without much of investment, and when you actually decide to invest, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So first off, you need to get this pistol. What this pistol does is it gives you some high shock accumulation, and eventually you will shock enemies, and when they get shocked they'll deal like an AoE burst of electricity, and then you get extra bonuses on just general shots on electricity. In order to get this item, where you need to go is basically down here. This island will have a bounty target here, and I'll make it a little bit easier by telling you the bounty name. This person, Temperatius Landi. I destroyed that name, but whatever this person name is, when you go down there and hunt her, she will give you this pistol. Now again, as I said, this pistol is a great like bread and butter to you because it is a range option built into your main kit. You're going to have melee and you're going to have range with this kit, and it's actually really versatile. And since it is a electric element weapon, essentially what this means is if you go across any of those like puzzles that require electric to do it, you have that built in. Now on the other hand, we're going to get Sheath in Summer, and this is a fire based dagger. And what this dagger does is every time you combo and stuff, you're going to get a big burst of fire damage, and then every single hit that you do will also give you some fire damage on each individual hit, which is going to be also really good for exploring because this is going to give you the ability to burn the things that you need to burn, cobwebs, trees. So you have 2 out of the 3 elements built in, so you're not reliant on grenades to do those. So that's really nice. Now, in order to find this, you're going to need to come here to the Godless Ruins. And the boss that you're looking for is called Octave the Firebrand. It's a dwarf guy that's actually fairly easy to take down. I took him down at like level 2. So he's definitely someone you want to go get. And these are going to be your primary weapons that you're going to be using in the game. So make sure you pick that up. Alright, next we're going to be getting the Black Wing Armor. Now in order to find this one, you're going to basically follow the main story quest. And you're essentially doing this quest here where you have to track down the person who kills you. A little bit of a spoiler, but you do get shot when you come into town. This is actually relevant to the next piece anyway. And the person that shoots you essentially brings you to the cistern. This is like an underground place, and you just do this quest line here and you will eventually get this armor. I'm not sure if you like let him go you can get it. I specifically decided to kill him, and so you definitely want to make sure you kill him. I'm not 100% sure that's exactly how it works, but the importance of this item is it gives you pretty solid DR, and then most importantly it's going to give you stealth attack damage 30%, which is actually pretty insane. And for those who are not aware, stealth counts whenever they don't see you, and it counts whenever you do like the backstab attack thing from your god abilities. And this is just a flat 30% damage increase, and that's a pretty massive amount of damage. Also, while you're crouched, you're going to get some really nice MS, and this just makes it easier for you to get in position to basically backstab enemies. And you'll notice with some of my my damage with the rest of the parts of this build, right now we can easily do like 1500 damage on the backstab, and that one shots pretty much everything in zone 1 except for maybe the super strong bosses, but they go down super easy as well. And even while I'm in the like second area too as well, it does a sizable amount of damage to pretty much every enemies besides the like triple skull elite. They're significantly higher level than me, but still really good damage. But this is a massive compliment to this. Now, as I said a second ago, when you come into the major town of the first zone, there's going to be these black wing gloves, essentially from where the person who shot you, when you come in, spoiler, sorry, from the person who shot you, essentially, where he's standing, these gloves are there. Now, these are not the best gloves in the world because the item bonus is 1% crit. I think it's really garbage. But the 10% crit damage is actually pretty integral to the build because it's just going to make you deal a lot more crit damage. And as I said a second ago, he does a ton of crit damage when we crit. And the backstab is going to crit. And whenever we're shooting from stealth, from what I can tell, seemingly crit. So this is a reasonable upgrade. Now, next, we're going to be using the Arcanist boots. This is one of the first items you can get very early. This gives you move speed and you get more restoration. This is just the best pair of boots I found so far that beneficial to this build. But you can find this at the top of the lighthouse here. This is the very first part of the game you come into after the tutorials. Just climb up to the top there. There will be a chest at the top with it, and you can easily equip these boots for some sizable MS and a little bit of sustain. So it's really nice. For our accessories, we're going to be using the medallion, the steel medallion. This one is not the best medallion in the world, but so far for this build, this has been the best. It gives you 1 resolve. Resolve isn't the best stat in the world, but it does give you a little bit of stamina and second wind efficiency. So stamina is always usable, so it's okay. You're gonna find this within this cave here, the ruinous caverns. This is a spider cavern, and there's going to be a decent armor body here as well. But essentially, the moment you come into this cavern, there's going to be like a hidden location to the right of the area that's going to lead you to like this little drop down and where you can find this medallion. Again, it's super easy. I would highly recommend you finish this cave and face off against the spider boss because it is actually important for the next part of the build. But yeah, go through that and get it done. And then next, you're going to be picking up called the Andrea's Grace, and this is just going to slowly regenerate your health while you're wet. As I said in my previous video, there's almost always water everywhere, and even in the next zone there's a river pretty much through the entire zone, so there's always a way to help you sustain. This is going to be super easy early on because, you know, sustain isn't always the easiest, and this is super good. And essentially after you finish that quest where you come out of the spider, the ruinous caverns place, when you go right and you just follow the path to the right, there will be this ring essentially at the end of the waterfall through the waterfall. So make sure you pick that bad boy up because again, this has been pretty good. Not the best option in the world, but it is pretty damn good. When it comes to your second ring, it's going to completely depend on what you want to accomplish. I was using the Arcanist ring. It's not the best ring. It did give me intellect because we do use a bit of int to help us sustain. Currently, I'm using the Ring of the Founder. This is going to require you to go to the second major zone in order to get this if you want to use it. Within the second major zone, the Emerald Stairs. And what you're looking for is this place called the Ancient Grotto, and this will have a pretty strong boss in here, I will admit. Though I am supremely underleveled, I was able to kite around and eventually kill it. But this is a pretty tough mission. If you're early in the game, it's going to be really hard to deal with, but it is pretty sizable because, and this is again going to just give you more damage when you backstab enemies on full health or deal damage to enemies on full health. And a lot of times you're a stealth based character, so in a lot of cases you're shooting things from stealth or you're going invisible and you're backstabbing them out of stealth, so you actually end up just doing a ton of damage early on. And that's kind of the focus of the build, is very burst heavy. Now there's one more major component to this build, and that's going to be these fragment here called the Noblici Oblige. And what this does is it reviving a companion, rapidly regenerate health and essence. Now I'll show you an example of this while I'm facing off against a significantly higher level boss. Like this is a 3 skull boss. This is way higher level than I should be, and essentially I'm able to maintain stealth with this because if you have 2 companions like I have, obviously they're going to go down pretty regularly, and I'm able to permanently keep reviving them while I'm in stealth. And this is going to regenerate your health, and this is going to regenerate your essence. And this means while you're backstabbing enemies, going back into stealth and resurrecting your allies, you're able to essentially get free mana and free health from this artifact. Is actually really good with a stealth based build. Now where you can find this is going to be basically coming over here to Rundy's house. There's like a shrine of Udeka. Shrine of Udeka, and you'll notice like an infantry camp here that has it just kind of sitting in a tent there. So make sure you go pick this up. Again, this is very integral to the build if you're facing off things stronger than you. Otherwise, you can kind of skip it if you're fighting things on par with you. So now we're over on the ability section, and let's go over each, and we're going to go into pretty much each one of the trees, and this is super early on. And we're going to eventually build more. But first off, you're going to be picking up charge. This is going to be your primary mobility skill. This is also going to help you with adventuring around because you can jump over like obstacles, you can break down walls, and whenever you do freeze, you can like do bonus damage to shattering them. And essentially, it's just such a great skill. It can knock enemies over. It's too good of a skill to pass up on. It gives a lot of stun. I don't see why you wouldn't pick this skill up first. It's egregiously better than everything else I've seen so far. And then it gives more travel distance by 100% when you upgrade it the second time. We're not upgrading it, just want to point out that charge is pretty insane. Next, we're going to be getting devastating criticals. We're not going to get the third rank in devastating criticals because 10% is not worth an additional point in my opinion. But 2 points is 50% increased crit whenever you stab with your melee weapons, and this is going to be pretty big for you because you do a lot of melee damage. Make sure you pick that up. Over on the Ranger, what you're going to be picking up is Evasive to help you with sustain on dodging, because this is going to be your primary defense when you're out and about, like not in the shadows. You're going to pick this up. This is going to be your way of just staying alive. And then over here, we're going to be picking up Shadowing Beyond. This is your primary damage when you rank this up, because we're trying to max this out as soon as we get to 10. It's really big. This is going to give you the ability to go invisible. While you're invisible, it's going to drain your essence, and you're going to notice that we use a lot of intelligence and essence-based things to help us sustain, because it will drain your essence. And while you're invisible, you gain increased sneak attack damage and move speed on top of the other move speed from our chest. And you're going to just deal significantly more damage. And then when you get the final upgrade, it's going to give you more reduction on the essence drain, and you're going to be able to stay stealth even longer. And we're going to get some more mana sustain in the future, but this is super important right now. Really hard for you to run out of mana with this build. And then over on the wizard side, we're picking up Armored Essence. And again, what this does is it reduces the amount of essence used for light and medium armor. So whenever you're using this stuff, it does reduce your total essence. This actually eliminates that reduction and makes it easier for you to have more essence. So then we're using Wizard's passive for this. For our companions, we're picking up Fire and Irie for Kai. This is our primary skill. We want to use him off cooldown. We're getting quick reload first. This is going to reduce the cooldown for Fire and Irie by 50%. You're going to be spamming this a lot, and then you want pure lead after, and then extra powder last. For Mr. Marius, if you're using him, you're going to use wounding shots. This is the primary focus on him because it's just a double debuff. Like, you can bleed with him passively. You're going to get maiming shots or exposing shots, whichever one works for you. But they're going to make the enemy shoot worse, like deal less damage, and it's going to make you deal more damage to them. For our attribute points, we're primarily focusing on perception for the crit and the maximum range. We crit a lot, and our pistol is our range ability, so we want to use range on this. We want intellect for the resistance because there is a lot of elemental resistance coming elemental damage coming our way, and then more essence always makes our abilities more effective. Then we're going to get dex for action speed as well as attack speed, and then kind of do whatever you want after that, but these are going to be our primary focus. You're probably going to stop perception around maybe about 10, give or take, because it is starting to diminish at this point. But we're going to be eventually getting this skill here called Critical Strikes, and that's going to give us 20, plus our base ability giving us 21 right now. We're going to have 40 plus our skills, probably going to be 60 to 70, maybe even 80. And we're just going to deal a lot of damage. Anyways, I'm just going to talk about the playstyle just a little bit to give you guys a better idea of how the playstyle works. So initially, whenever you're going into fights, you just kind of want to crouch for the most part. When you're crouching, the thing is, like, things can't see you, and as long as you're not like being seen, you can just shoot them with your pistol from a distance, and this will just do a crit attack. And then you'll get the extra stealth benefits from your chest. And then when it crits, you're going to get all the extra benefits from critting. So you want to make sure that you're approaching from stealth if possible. And if you can even backstab them, that would be even better, because again, you're going to get that godlike stab, and that godlike stab crits, and it does a ton of damage. But depending on how you approach an enemy, let's say for example, you do get into a position where you backstab them first because they're not looking with your godlike backstab, I would just thereafter summon Kai to attack with the attack. maybe throw a grenade, maybe do a quick stab, but essentially you're going to go right into stealth and then stab them again. And this is like a pretty insane burst combo. You can get easily over like 3,000 damage in like a couple of seconds, and this is gonna like burst down even the strongest enemies. As I said, I typically fight things that are way higher level than me, and this burst combo deals a massive chunk of their HP early on, and it's really nice early in the fight. Other than that, you're just going to be dodging around, avoiding attacks as much as you can. The enemy's too hard to deal with. A lot of times you're just going to go stealth to stealth, rezzing allies to sustain your stealth, and just backstab as many of the key targets as possible. And if they're not the strongest of enemies, then you just shoot them with your gun and just stab them. Just single them out, use your stealth off cooldown, stab them in the back, and just kill them. It's super straightforward. It's just a stealth build. You have the ability to attack from a range, you have the ability to stab up close, and yeah, it's just a really solid overall playstyle that's really versatile. With that said, that's going to be it for this one, guys. This is a really fun build that I'm going to be working on. I actually have like 2 or 3 build ideas that I'm working on in the very near future. If the video helped you out or just showed you something new, consider leaving me a like, or even better yet, subscribing to the channel. And just like that, guys, I'll see you in the next one very soon.